Hello again everyone, this is Mr. Hoy. In this video I'm going to discuss how to solve a quadratic for the solutions or roots or x-intercepts when you're using the quadratic formula. The most important thing is that you have the quadratic formula written down somewhere. It's often the case that students tend to want to memorize the quadratic formula, and that's fine. However, you want to make sure you can reference it frequently, so if you make a mistake you can look back and diagnose it early if you have an issue with simply the formula itself. If you make a mathematical error later, that's something else, but if you don't know the formula itself, you'll consistently make mistakes and you may not be able to discover the mistake. So again, write down your formula. Here we've got an example. One thing I want to note about this example is that we've got negative numbers here and here. Anytime you have negative numbers and you're plugging them in, you're more likely to make a mistake than if you have positive numbers. So be especially careful there. Here in this example, we've got x equals, and in the formula we've got negative b. What that means is negative 1 times b. So we're going to take the b value, the negative 2, and plug it in right next to the negative sign. So functionally this is negative b, or positive b. After that is the plus or minus. Make sure that both the plus and minus sign are visible. Then you want to put the radical. Underneath the radical we've got b squared minus 4ac. Again, the b value is negative, so make sure you plug that in with a negative sign there. Negative 2 squared. Minus 4, that minus 4 is always there. And the negative 5 is from the example itself, negative 5. And then you plug in the c value, that's positive 4 from back here. So we plug in these values, we've got a negative 2, a negative 2 squared, a negative 5 here, and positive 4 there. In the denominator, we've got a 2 times the a value, which again is negative 5. We plug that in down here. At that point, we want to take our now positive 2 and add and subtract the result of these calculations here. If you remember from a previous video, this is the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. b squared, negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 times negative 5 times positive 4 is positive 80. This is where a lot of mistakes are going to happen. Please make sure you didn't make a mistake here. And 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. In the next line of work, we're simply going to add the 4 to the 80, and we'll get the square root of 84. In situations where you don't have a perfect square, so in this case, 84, you don't want to find the decimal approximation right now. You're going to want to find that on the next step. So be careful not to put this in your calculator yet. I'll talk about going through those steps later. In situations where it is a perfect square, let's say this is 81, you can feel free to find the square root of 81 and replace this with a 9 because the 9 is not rounded from some longer number. But again, if you've got a number like this that is not a perfect square, leave that 84 inside the radical for the next couple of steps. What this plus or minus sign here means is that you're going to both add the square root of 84 as well as subtract the square root of 84. So I've got those two options here. Here's the addition, here's the subtraction, plus and minus there. When you type this in the calculator, what you should be doing is hitting 2 and then plus the square root of 84. Hit enter, don't write anything down, and then hit divided by negative 10. If you write down the result of 2 plus the square root of 84, because root 84 is irrational, you'll get this long number that you will have to round. It's better to not round the number at all and simply type this in, leave that number in, whatever it happens to be in the calculator, then divide it by negative 10. Then write down the result of that, which in this case is negative 1.117. I rounded there to the nearest thousands place. I would recommend that you do the same. So looking at the next part of this question, the subtraction element, same thing. 2 minus root 84, put that in the calculator, hit enter, then divide by negative 10, then put the result as 0.717. Try not to stop in between and write down that number and then divide, because again, it's rounded, which could lead to a slightly incorrect answer down here. Both these answers are rounded to the nearest thousands. I would recommend doing the same in any questions you come into. Now, when you're looking at these answers, you want to make sure that you've got the negative or the smaller version of the answer first and the larger second. Just in general set notation, it's better to write the smaller number first and the larger number second.